Hello, welcome. So glad to have you join me. This is the vocal workshop of how to learn to practice from Singing for Beginners. So glad to have you join me. Today I'm going to get started with this thing that I have found so critical, and yet neither I nor anyone else that I am aware of is actually teaching new singers how to practice, new students how to practice. We make various different assumptions and rarely take the time to actually demonstrate for our students how to practice. So that's my goal today. And so while I am running you through exercises, I'll also be drawing your attention to the different aspects that you can be focusing on, because whether we are very beginning, intermediate, or advanced, we can utilize the same exercises, structures, and patterns for wherever we are in our development, simply bringing our awareness to a different level depending on how much we have advanced in our training. Excuse me while I itch my nose. There are just certain things that we have to be aware of. All right, so as we begin, let's simply be aware of the breath. All right, so for those of you who haven't become aware yet of abdominal breathing, we're going to bring our shoulders back and raise our sternum high and breathe from the gut. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Being aware that when we breathe in, we are expanding the body because we are increasing its volume, because we're bringing air in. And then as we exhale, we are allowing the body to come back to a position of rest. There's a lot more advanced training about how to breathe abdominally. I provide that, but I don't necessarily want to focus on the specifics of each aspect, but simply to draw your awareness. So we're beginning our warm-ups. Let's start on an A below middle C. This should be accessible for all of the voices. Perhaps for soprano voice, this may be quite low for you. Do your best. At any point that the pitch is not accessible to you, do your best to find it at the octave that works for you. For the men, it's going to be in your middle range. For the women, it's going to be in your low range. If it's too low, take it up the octave. Keep in mind, my voice happens to be a bit unusual. Today in particular, I noticed that I was vocalizing to a G, an octave, and a third below middle C, which for a female voice is fairly unusual. We're all built differently. Do your best. And switch the octave as you need to. So we're simply going to take the breath in and exhale on the note. Breath in and out. Being aware of your posture. Breath in and out. breath in and out. I'm going to pause right here. Continue to be aware of how your body is breathing while I give you some additional awareness. So if you are a beginning student, you're simply trying to be aware of your posture, how the breath comes in and out of your body, and being sure that to the best of your ability, you're matching the pitch. As you advance more, I want you to become aware of how the air is flowing through the pitch so that the breath is consistent, the tone is consistent, the vibrato is consistent, without tightening the throat or the vocal mechanism, simply allowing the air to pass through. And so you are managing the consistency of the breath, not through the throat, not through any tightening or constriction here, or management by the vocal mechanism, but rather by the breath mechanism, so that as consistent as possible. Be aware if there are any bumps in either the pitch or in the volume, which is where the breath, the abs, the abdominal muscles are changing the amount of pressure that's going through the vocal cords, or perhaps the vocal cords themselves are adjusting a little bit, becoming aware of that. So let's go back to this pitch. All right, so I'm going to sing in the lower octave. If that is not accessible to you, go ahead and take it up the octave. Take the breath in. Breath in. Interesting, because just a little bit ago that pitch was much more accessible to me. So at this point I've already warmed up enough that it's much more difficult for me to relax into that pitch. And so it has to become a vocal fry, which isn't particularly effective for me down in that part of my voice. So we always want to vocalize first in our lower range, because those are the thicker, more dense, stronger muscles that are going to have to relax and get shorter as we go lower and lower into our range. So we always want to start in with the stronger, thicker, more dense muscles that have to relax and get shorter. Rather than going into our high voice. Into our high voice, the muscles have to stretch more, get longer. There's more tension involved in the process. They are the finer muscles, if you will. We want to give them a chance and give the body and the brain and the whole system get a chance to stretch before we ask for more stretching from our upper voice. And so we'll always, let's go gentle as we go towards our upper range. Go ahead and flip into the upper range earlier rather than later. The upper range requires a lighter mechanism. It's generally breathier, softer. Allow those switches to happen so that we can access our higher notes. And remember that higher isn't really higher at all, except in terms of faster frequency. They are faster and longer. The vocal cords move faster and they are stretched longer. That's what makes a higher pitch. It's not truly higher. So here we go. We're going to shift. That's enough for me right now. I'm actually experiencing a bit of dizziness, which indicates to me that my body is processing more air, more oxygen than it is prepared for, and perhaps more than it's used to right now. I did battle COVID, which included pneumonia just a few months ago, and I am discovering that my body just simply isn't prepared for as much movement as I might like it to be at times. So always being aware of our bodies, recognizing that our needs from one day to the next may also shift. So let's move to a different form of a warm-up for the upper register. We're going to use lip trills. So a lip trill, I used to call motorboat, but I see that it's actually been adopted into the general usage of singers. And so a lip trill simply means putting air past the lips in such a way that it causes the lips to vibrate. It's a very simple exercise, and yet it does can fail us if particular things don't happen accurately or within a particular range. So the motorboat or lip trills is kind of a Goldilocks exercise. So it needs just enough air, not too much air, just enough pressure, not too much pressure, just enough tension, but not too much tension within the vocal cords, the throat, and the lips. All right, so if we have either too much or not enough, it won't function. But let's just practice like this. Take a breath in and out. Notice that there's no tension in the upper or lower lip, either in the body of the lip or in the musculature around, particularly in the corners. You may be able to get this to function with some tension around, but you'll notice that it may limit the extremes, particularly as we get to the upper register. And some of this may switch. You may make some adjustments, but try to be aware of keeping the lips relaxed. The body of the lips, they do have to be together with a particular amount of pressure, but not so much that the air can't go past. Utilizing a 5-note scale. Utilize whichever pitch level works for you. to stop and point out in that particular one, you may have noticed that I had a moment towards at about the second or third pitch that it failed. It failed me. The vibration failed me. That was because I added some tension. I wasn't paying good attention, which caused there to be a bit of extra tension in my lips. I also wasn't blowing quite, I want to be careful with the word blowing, but I wasn't allowing quite enough air past and through the structure. So here we go. We're going to go back to the point of, or right before that point of failure. I shouldn't use the word failure. That point of, well, it was. I'll find another word. Here we go. You ready? Inhale. And for me, that's as high as my voice wants to go and stretch today. You may be able to get a couple additional pitches out and through. Not sure what's going to work for you. Do your best. Let's go back to this point. Go up about a step higher, and then we're going to come back down. And what I want you to be aware of as we go back down is trying to keep the lightness that you've discovered in this upper register and maintain that lightness back down and through the middle voice. For some of you, this will be easier than others. Many of us are used to trying to sing heavy, avoiding our head voice because we want to have the strength and power of the chest or middle voice. But let's try to balance in a different area. Again, if this is beyond your capacity, I invite you to challenge yourself to lighten up, get really fully into your head voice, let it be breathy and airy, and then allow there to be a different, lighter blend on the way down. And this is how you'll learn to access and strengthen your head voice. And if it simply isn't accessible, then drop it down an octave, and you're practicing movement of the breath and the flexibility and freedom of the articulators here. Excuse me, my nose is still a little bit itchy. Here we go. Ready? Oops. Let me put it up the octave too. One more. Back down. Big breath. Deep breath. Keep it light. Keep it light. Last one. All right, I'm going to take this just a step further, an additional awareness. or point. If you are a beginner, if you're having any difficulty with this at all, I want you to be sure that you're not concerned about every individual pitch. Yes, we want pitch accuracy, but at a beginning level especially, we are more concerned about the pattern, about being sure that you're getting the depth of inhalation between the patterns so that you can get through them and everything remains fluid, and also that you're being sure of preparing for the onset, for the whole pattern, so that you're getting that deep breath, and in the brief moment that you have to get the breath, you're getting the freedom of the throat, that the air can move past, that the lips have exactly the correct amount of pressure towards each other, that they have the flexibility in the surrounding articulators, and that the breath is also coordinated. Those are the things that are most important. Therefore, especially as a beginner or at any point that you're having difficulty with this exercise, take out the differentiation between the pitches. And if you're someone who at this point in your development is having difficulty simply matching the pitch, then don't worry about that at all. Well, be aware of it, but turn this into more of a slide exercise. If that's where you are in your development, that is absolutely fine. And you may be at that point in your development, even if you're a fairly advanced singer, maybe just on a specific day, that the differentiation of pitches isn't really working. Fine. You need to work on just your support of the upper pitch. Fine. Turn it into a slide. It all depends on what you need in any specific day. Very interesting. I'm finding my body doing something it used to do, but I haven't had this happen for quite some time. A little twitch, a little tension perhaps. Who knows? All right, so now that we've done this pattern, let's stay in something very close to that, but now let's turn it into an ah, but utilizing the idea of the slide, which I just introduced. So this is posture, breath, and the flow of the air through the voice. Okay, so just in case you're having any difficulty with that, and again, I'm noticing for myself on this particular day that just 5 times of that, I'm already feeling a bit dizzy. So again, be very aware of your body, aware of your personal needs at any given moment. And for whatever reason, I see that I have lost my video feed. So I don't know how to get it back. Let's